Hey guys, here today with another Shirogorov knife. Today we have in front of us one of the 7 knives that was part of the Born in Vegas coins project. Now this project took place in 2018 and like other Born in Vegas projects is a collaboration with Dmitry Sinkevich and Sergei Shirogorov. Now, the mechanism at which the knives are awarded for the Born in Vegas projects kind of differ from year to year. For example, we have in 2015 the Seasons project, and you can see here that there's these cute little beads here with different weather motifs. This one is the sun. They also have a number that's engraved in here, and this kind of serves as your lottery ticket. So you buy the bead and it serves as your lottery ticket for the knife. Moving on, 2017, we had a roulette, Born in Vegas roulette. These roulette wheels that were made, very nicely made roulette wheels. These were actually pretty expensive. I believe they're around $450 for the entry, but they served as your ticket, and then the drawing was done on a roulette wheel, which was pretty cool. Coins, on the other hand, kind of was represented by these coins here that were done in 7 different materials. Now, this one here is Mokume. Personally, I think one of the best looking ones. The other materials that were available were bronze, copper, zirconium, mokutai, and zircutai, I believe. Oh, and Damascus steel as well. So those were the 6 other variants, and then we have the 7th one here in Mokume. And in fact, you know, since the project in 2018, it's been 4 years pretty much, and this knife, the copper parts have patinaed quite well, so the colors aren't as vibrant, but I think it's aged quite well for the material. But anyways, some people actually were quite disappointed by the fact that the coins project didn't really have a luck-based element to it. These knives, unlike the other 2 projects that I had mentioned, were actually done via auction. And the auction was quite unique in that you kind of had a picture of the coin and the material up close with these waves here. It was basically a close-up shot of the inlay, but you actually didn't know the knife that you were bidding on. And so after the auctions had ended, and coincidentally they all ended at the same time as well for all of the 7 coins, after that had ended, then the knives were revealed. So very interesting system for kind of distributing the knives. And again, many people were quite disappointed that there was no luck element this year in 2018, this time around. But anyways, taking a look at the knife now, I think a lot of people kind of thought that this was a kind of its own model. This was actually based on the Tetra design, a collaboration that Dmitry and Sergei had done a few years prior. It's one of the lesser known collaborations, and actually there has been a historical precedent of the Born in Vegas knives being kind of updated versions of collaborations with Dmitry and Sergei. The Born in Vegas cards, for example, was a mini cannabis. Then we had the roulette, which was a updated version of the Techno Bamboo, the Techno Bamboo 2. And this one right here, again, is based on that Tetra. The Tetra, I believe, was a liner lock flipper knife. And I believe the blade design has changed, significantly. The profile is pretty much the same, but the lack of a swedge on the original design is something that kind of makes this different. And of course, the original design did not have this very cool skeletonization on the towards the blade spine and jimping area as well. But anyways, let's go ahead and actually talk about the specs of the knife here. And I think since most people aren't familiar with the Tetra design, it'll be good to put up some models here to compare it to. First, we have an F95 size knife and a neon, and you can see that it really slots in very well in between those 2 sizes. And of course, what that means is you probably want to throw a stellar up here to compare. And you can see that the blade size is pretty much around the same as the stellar, and the handle is around the same size as well. Taking a look at the weight here, looking at 5.8 ounces. Now, I don't really want to take the coin off. I feel like the coin is probably adding a couple of ounces here, but it is touching the scale kind of on the ground here. So I just say around 5.8 ounces. Those Mokume inserts or inlays definitely aren't helping it to be a lightweight knife. Just to confirm a couple things here. You know, I have done a couple videos on the Stellar, but might as well take a measurement of the blade. And of course you can see here, as I thought, just like the Stellar, we're looking at 3 3/4 inch for the blade length, and then an overall length of just under 8.5 inches, and a handle length here of around 4 3/4 inches. Now, taking a look at the blade here, we have a Vanex 37 blade. The blade stock is a standard 4 millimeters. The finishing on the blade is quite unique here. We have kind of a belt satin, very well executed. Belt sounds really aren't my first choice in terms of blade finish, and also they're quite unusual to see on kind of Shirogorov knives of this time period. Some very early knives, even in the axis lock days, had kind of a belt satin finish, but it's something that you really don't see nowadays. So some people actually do like it. I think it's very well executed. It's not something that was done to be lazy, judging by how well the belt satin turned out. And if anything, it could actually be done after the fact, or kind of the belt satin kind of, you know, enhanced after the blade was ground. Not really too sure here, but very, very interesting choice for the blade finish here. The flats are satin finished horizontally, which kind of contributes to that wonderfully smooth action, which I'll show here in a little bit. One thing, again, that I had mentioned that has changed over the previous Tetra collaboration is the lack of the swedge out here for the front half of the blade, and then the addition of this skeletonization towards the spine here. And it's not just a normal skeletonization, but you can see it's kind of segmented into 2 segments here, with some nice contouring on the middle bridge portion here. Very interesting design. You can see here also how we have this teardrop shape towards the handle, and then the cutout on the handle kind of matches that when the blade is open, which I also think is very interesting. Moving on to the handle here. Actually, before we do that, take a look at the flipper tab here. Quite low profile. It works quite well for me. I have no problem flipping it. Some people do have a problem at first, but I haven't seen anyone yet who has, you know, where it just hasn't worked out at all. But this flipper tab does remind me, you know, the shape to the Hokkaido. It doesn't allow you to get too much leverage, but it does allow you to deploy the blade quite nicely. Taking a look at the handle here, you can see we have wave milling. We have very tight wave milling on the titanium portion of the handle, and then we have a wider milling on this materials inlay portion. Of course, for this one, as I had said previously, it is a Mokume. We also have Mokume pivot collars and a clip insert. I'll talk about that, why, once we start talking about the clip here, but you can see 3 pieces of Mokume here. And of course, like all of the Sinkevich collaborations, we have the Sinkevich tri-lobe screws on both the pivot and the rear screw here. The handles are contoured as well, slightly contoured, which helps fill out the hand. And of course, like most inlays that Shirogorov does and Dmitry, it does stand a little bit proud of the frame to kind of fill up your hand. Moving on to the lock side here, you can see we have an external lock bar screw that is Torx. We also have a clip here, which coincidentally has a similar shape to the cutout on the blade, especially taking a look at the rear here, where it has kind of a teardrop rear shape. and also the skeletalization on the clip right here with the two segments here matches the skeletalization on the blade, which I think is quite cool as well. I also like how the clip is kind of symmetrical, running horizontally. Not many clips do that, especially Sergei's clips, but of course this is a Dmitry design. Now, when I was talking about the clip insert here, this is one of the few knives that has a reversible clip. Now, this knife came out before the Kami, so I believe it's probably the first design that the Shirogorov workshop has produced. Although it might not be an original Sergei design, one of the few knives that Shirogorov has produced that has that reversible clip. And basically what you do is you just unscrew this, take out the insert, and then put the insert on this side and flip the clip over, and everything should assemble just like normal. And that is kind of an interesting feature, something that definitely was not on the original Tetra. I don't see many people talking about that, but it definitely is something that is possible, so really cool. Another interesting thing here too is this backspacer here. I think also because it has to play with the whole ambidextrous clip functionality. Instead of a backspacer, we have just a standoff here. The standoff is, sorry, I think I referred to it as a backspacer in the beginning. But the standoff here is titanium, very nice polish with a groove in the middle that kind of meets the blade. It's kind of a half moon shape, and the lanyard is actually contained completely by this standoff here. So you can see the lanyard is not visible at all, and the screw is what goes through to retain the lanyard here. Now you can see the skeletalization on the inside. If I can get my flashlight here. The skeletalization on the inside of the handle goes all the way to the material, so you can see that it is visible through the inside. And also if you take a very close look here, I don't know if I can get on camera, but you can actually see the coins logo on the inside of the frame. I'm not sure if this will show up. Right here, right in the very middle of the handle here is the Coins Project logo, which is pretty cool. Now, like other Sinkevich collaborations, this is running on Dmitry's version of MRBS. You can see here we have the logo. The triangle is tilted differently, which seems to be consistent with knives that are designed by Dmitry. And this is actually a 2-row MRBS, so something similar to the Neon actually, but the arrangement of the bearings is slightly different. This also is one of the few knives that I know from both makers that has an internal stop pin. So there's actually a stop pin track milled out into the blade. And so there is no kind of stop pin that you can see here. Very interesting. Not really sure if the original Tetra was like that, but one thing that I did notice when taking this one apart. Now, lastly here, we want to talk about the coin. The coins all had kind of this kind of Asian motif. As you can see, the coin has this wave milling here. And this one, of course, is made in the same material, Mokume. And on the other side of the coin, you can see here, we have the Coins logo. And then we also have the logo for the two designers here, two makers, both Dmitry Sinkevich on the left and Sergei Shirogorov on the right. So that's pretty much it for this one. I honestly don't think that I'm going to get any of the other ones to review, and they're really pretty much exactly the same except for the material, so there won't be too much a point in doing anyways, but I'm really glad to have gotten this one in to take a look at. Again, a lot of the knives my friends have been sending over since they are just so limited and so rare, so I really appreciate that. And hopefully I'll be looking forward to getting some more collaborations too. It'd be really great to take a look at the Vegas cards and wow, maybe one day the Born in Vegas roulette project knives, since again, I believe there are only 7 of those as well. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I'll see you guys next time.